Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. I'm sitting in my favorite chair, the one by the window with the view of our quiet neighborhood, when my phone rings. It's an unusual time for a call, late in the evening, and the screen shows it's from my son, Daniel, who's stationed overseas with the army. My heart skips a beat, hoping there's no bad news. Dad? You got a minute? Daniel's voice sounds strained, unlike his usual upbeat tone. Of course, son. Everything okay over there? I ask, trying to sound calm despite the worry clawing at my chest. It's about Mom. His words are heavy, hesitant. I sit up straighter, a cold dread settling in. What about her? Is she okay? I ask, thinking of the worst possibilities. God, it's hard to say this, Dad. I caught her, with others. In an orgy, Dad. And not just with anyone, the Colonel was there too. It was at the base. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. My wife, Jessica, has been a military cook for years, and I never would have imagined something like this. I'm speechless, trying to process what I just heard. Are you sure, Daniel? It's a huge accusation. Where did you see this? I managed to muster enough voice to speak. I saw it, Dad. I saw it with my own eyes. I wish I hadn't, but I did. I don't know what to do. His voice cracks, the image of my strong, unshakable son shattering. I rub my temples, feeling the weight of his words. I'm sorry you had to see that, son. We'll figure this out. Together. We'll think of something. I need some time to think. I want to make them pay, Dad. All of them. They need to know they can't just destroy families like this. His anger is palpable, and in that moment, my own heart hardens. My wife, the woman I trusted, involved in something like this, it's unfathomable. We'll sort this out, I reassure him, though I'm not sure how just yet. After we hang up, the silence of the room suffocates me. My mind races with images I don't want to imagine, and a plan starts to form. Betrayal of this magnitude demands action. I need to confront Jessica, but not before I know everything. Daniel and I need evidence, indisputable proof that could not only shame them but ensure they never do this to anyone else. The next morning, I book the first flight to where she's stationed. As I pack, my resolve strengthens. This isn't just about confrontation. It's about justice, about protecting the honor of our family name. Daniel and I will work together, gather the evidence we need, and expose the truth. I look in the mirror, barely recognizing the man staring back. The next few days are going to test me in ways I never imagined, but I am ready. Jessica and her lovers will face the consequences of their actions, and I will make sure of it. They will regret ever crossing the line. As I head to the airport, my phone vibrates with a message from Daniel. We'll fix this, Dad. Together. Together indeed. As the plane takes off, I feel a mix of fear and determination. This journey isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming our dignity and making things right. Whatever it takes. As I step off the plane, the brisk air of the military base greets me, a stark contrast to the warm embrace I had hoped for in my previous visits. My heart is a mix of dread and determination. I spot Daniel waiting for me outside the arrival's gate, his face a mask of resolve and pain. Dad, he greets me, pulling me into a brief, tense hug. Thanks for coming. Let's get this sorted out, I say, clenching my jaw. First things first, where can we talk privately? He nods, leading me to a secluded spot behind one of the administrative buildings. This should be good. Once we're alone, Daniel pulls out his phone. I've been doing some digging since we talked. It's not just Mom and the Colonel. There are others, lower ranks, maybe even some civilians involved. Civilians? I echo, my frown deepening. How deep does this go? I don't know yet, but I'm working on it. There's a guy, Sergeant Ellis, he's been around longer than anyone. I think he knows more. I've seen him with Mom a few times, looking too cozy for comfort. Can you trust him to talk? I ask, skeptical of involving anyone else in our plan. No, but I have another idea. There's a tech guy here, Lou, he's good with surveillance stuff. He owes me a favor. I think he can help us get the evidence without raising suspicions. Do it, I urge him. The sooner we know everything, the better. We arrange to meet Lou, a wiry man with nervous energy, in the base's cafeteria. His eyes dart around before settling on us. Daniel, Mr. Reynolds, he whispers, I can get you access to the security feeds. But this is risky, very risky. We understand, Daniel assures him. We just need evidence. Recordings, messages, anything. Lou nods, tapping at his tablet. Give me 48 hours. I'll have something for you. With Lou on the task, Daniel and I spend the next day laying low, avoiding any unnecessary attention. The tension is palpable as we wait, each hour stretching longer than the last. Finally, Lou contacts us with a tight, meet me. In a dark corner of the base library, Lou hands over a flash drive. I got it. But you need to be careful, he says, looking over his shoulder. If they find out. We'll be careful, I promise, clenching the flash drive. Thanks, Lou. Back in our temporary quarters, we plug in the drive. The screen flickers to life, showing various clips, timestamps marking each one. My heart races as we click on the first video. It's Jessica, clearly not aware she's being filmed, laughing and flirting outrageously with the Colonel and several others, including Sergeant Ellis. I feel sick watching it, but we continue, gathering every shred of evidence. By the end of the night, we have more than enough to take them down. Tomorrow, Daniel says, his voice steely, we confront them. All of them. I nod, feeling the weight of our mission. We're not just exposing a scandal, we're about to tear down a facade that's been years in the making. And in the midst of our planning, I can't help but wonder about the aftermath, about the bridges we're about to burn. Tomorrow, everything changes. The morning sun barely peeks over the horizon, casting long shadows across the base as Daniel and I prepare for what's likely to be the most tumultuous day of our lives. We've agreed on our plan, confront Jessica and her conspirators with the evidence, then take it all to the base commander. My hands are steady, driven by a cold resolve, but inside, my heart is a turmoil of betrayal and indignation. We meet in a small, nondescript room Daniel has secured for privacy. The walls are bare, the air thick with tension. Jessica arrives first, looking confused and slightly wary. Mark, Daniel, what's this about? Why here? She asks, her voice trembling just a bit. Before I can speak, the door opens again to admit the Colonel and Sergeant Ellis, both summoned by Daniel under the guise of an urgent operational meeting. Let's not waste any time, Daniel says, his voice cutting through the awkward greetings. He locks the door behind them and stands facing our gathered audience. We know about the orgies. We have everything on video. Jessica's face goes pale, her eyes darting around the room in panic. The Colonel, a tall man with a usually imposing presence, stammers, "This is ridiculous, Daniel. What sort of prank?" "It's no prank," I interrupt, stepping forward and placing the flash drive on the table. "We've seen everything. It's over." Sergeant Ellis, ever the sly one, tries to maintain his composure. "You two are making a big mistake. Think about the consequences." "The only mistake," I snap, "was thinking you could get away with this. Betraying your families, your comrades, the Army's trust." Jessica finally speaks, her voice a mix of defiance and plea. "Mark, please, let's talk about this privately. There's a lot you don't understand." "There's nothing to understand." I shoot back, feeling Daniel's supportive presence beside me. "You've dishonored us, Jessica. You, and all involved." The colonel takes a step forward, his demeanor shifting as he realizes the gravity of the situation. "Look, we can resolve this discreetly. No need to ruin careers and lives." Daniel laughs, bitter and cold. "Discreet went out the window when you all decided to have your fun without thinking of the consequences." I play the first video clip on a laptop, not wanting to, but needing to show them we mean business. The room is silent except for the damning footage. When it ends, the guilt is written clearly on their faces. "You have one chance to make this right," Daniel states firmly. "Resign. Or we go public with everything." Jessica looks at me, tears starting to form. "Mark, Save it," I say, turning away. The hurt is too deep, the breach of trust irreparable. As they start to argue among themselves, weighing their limited options, Daniel and I step outside, giving them space to decide their fates. "We did what we had to do," Daniel says, looking at me with a mixture of sadness and resolve. "Yes, we did," I reply, knowing that our relationship with Jessica will never be the same, but also feeling a strange relief that the truth is out. We wait, ready to take whatever steps are necessary next, prepared to end this chapter of our lives and start anew, however daunting that may seem. The sun rises higher, signaling a new day, a new beginning, after the storm. The hours crawl by as we wait for the Colonel, Sergeant Ellis, and Jessica to decide their next move. The base is a hive of activity outside our little room of reckoning, but inside, time seems to stand still. Finally, the door creaks open, and they re-emerge, faces drawn with tension and defeat. "We'll resign," the Colonel announces, his voice heavy. "But we need assurances that this won't go public. We have families to think about." "Families you didn't consider before," Daniel mutters, but I place a hand on his shoulder. "Fine," I say. "Resignation's on my desk by the end of the day, and this stays between us." Jessica looks at me, her eyes pleading. "Mark, please, can we talk?" "There's nothing left to talk about, Jessica," I respond coldly. "Pack your things and go." As they leave, the air feels lighter, though the burden of betrayal still weighs heavy on my heart. Daniel and I head to the base commander's office, flash drive in hand, ready to ensure the resignations go through and the scandal is contained. Commander Harris, a stern woman with years of experience etched into her face, looks up as we enter. "What's this about, Reynolds?" "We have something you need to see," I say, handing her the flash drive. "It's evidence of misconduct involving some high-ranking officers, including the Colonel." Her eyes widen as she views the footage, her expression hardening. "This is serious. Why didn't you come to me sooner?" "We wanted to give them a chance to resign quietly," Daniel explains. "To avoid a bigger scandal." Harris nods, clearly torn between duty and the need to maintain the base's reputation. "I'll handle it from here. Thank you for bringing this to my attention." As we leave her office, a weight lifts off our shoulders. It's over. Or so we think. That evening, as Daniel and I sit down to a quiet dinner, my phone buzzes with a message from an unknown number: "Meet me at the old hangar. Alone. 10 p.m. Important." I show the message to Daniel. "What do you think?" "It could be a trap," he says, frowning. "Or it could be someone wanting to spill more details." "We can't ignore it," I reply, grabbing my jacket. "But I'm not going alone." Under the cover of darkness, we make our way to the old hangar, a relic from a bygone era of the base. The creaking metal door opens to reveal a shadowy figure waiting inside. As we step closer, the figure emerges into the dim light. It's Lou, the tech guy who helped us. "Lou, what's this about?" I ask, my voice echoing in the cavernous space. "There's something you need to know," he whispers, glancing around nervously. "It's not over. The Colonel and his cronies, they're planning something big. They're not going down without a fight. What do you mean? Daniel demands. They've been involved in more than just these parties. There's corruption, smuggling, misuse of resources. And they're not going to let you ruin them. I overheard them planning to frame you both, to make you the scapegoats. My blood runs cold. How do we stop them? Lou hands me a small, encrypted drive. This has all the evidence you need. Transactions, communications, everything. But you need to act fast. They're planning to move against you tonight. We need to get this to Commander Harris, Daniel says, urgency in his voice. Go, Lou urges. I'll cover for you if anyone asks. We race back to the base, hearts pounding. The hallways are eerily quiet as we make our way to Harris's office, hoping she's still there. When we burst in, she looks up, startled. What's going on? We have more evidence, I say, breathless. They're planning to frame us. This drive has everything. Harris's eyes narrow as she takes the drive and plugs it into her computer. The screen fills with documents, messages, and financial records, all pointing to a deeper conspiracy. This is damning, she mutters, her face hardening. I'll mobilize the MPs. We'll take them into custody immediately. As the base springs into action, Daniel and I watch as the Colonel, Sergeant Ellis, and their co-conspirators are rounded up, their protests falling on deaf ears. It's a swift and decisive operation, and by dawn, the base is secure, the threat neutralized. Jessica, too, is taken into custody, her face a mask of shock and betrayal. As she's led away, she looks back at me, tears streaming down her face. Mark, I'm so sorry. I turn away, unable to face her. There's no going back from this. Later, in the quiet of the morning, Daniel and I sit on a bench overlooking the training grounds. We did it, he says softly. We stopped them. Yeah, I reply, a bittersweet smile tugging at my lips. We did. As the sun rises, casting a golden glow over the base, I feel a sense of closure. The betrayal has been avenged, justice has been served, and a new chapter begins for both of us. Whatever the future holds, we're ready to face it together.